someone chasing you?
Not yet, but they will when they find out who I am.
Oh, really? Who are you?
Hey guys, I'm Kevin,
I'm Jake.
and this is Movie Matters. We continue Psychological Thriller Month with The Machinist from 2004, directed by Brad Anderson, Christian Bale, Jennifer Jason Leigh. Love this movie. I've seen this movie a handful of times. It is a mind fuck and an awesome movie. Jake, what do you think of this movie?
I really like this movie as well. I think this is maybe the second or third time I've watched it. I think it's probably the third, but really well made all around, I'd say. I think watching it this time, I don't think the rewatch value is as high as the other two movies we've watched so far this month, but it is still a really well made movie.
Yeah, I would somewhat agree with you there. I think this is a movie you watch every few years. You know what I mean? It's like every 4 to 5 years. However, I did watch it like 2 years ago. I love this movie. Did I show you this movie?
Yeah, we watched it together the first time I saw it.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, we just watched the trailer before this, and we show that at the beginning of each of our episodes. That trailer was terrible. Like, how do you market this movie?
Yeah, this is another movie that's like, because it's not quite a like psychological thriller. It's not a horror movie. It's like, it's kind of a psychological drama.
Yeah.
More than like a thriller. And like it's a very like slow burn, of a movie. So yeah, like you don't have that like the like intrigue, that like Shutter Island has, or like the like weirdness of Fight Club, So yeah, it's kind of a hard movie to pin down into like a minute or minute and a half trailer.
Yeah. I mean, this movie has that similar ending climax of the reveal, which is really cool. And we'll get into that for sure. I mean, this movie is really well known for Christian Bale and his weight loss, his dramatic weight loss. So there's some interesting trivia on that. The producers of the film claim that Christian Bale dropped from 173 pounds down to 110 to make this film, which is crazy. 110 pounds. They also claim Bale wanted to actually drop down to 100 pounds, but they would not let him go below 120 out of fear that his health could be in danger if he did this. His diet consisted of 1 can of tuna and an apple per day. His 63-pound weight loss is said to be a record for any actor for a movie role. He regained the weight in time for his role in Batman Begins, which is crazy because it was a year later. This came out in 2004. Yeah. Batman Begins came out in 2005, and he's a beast in 2005.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's not a slouch in Batman Begins. So.
Yeah. And so the director, Brad Anderson, had not asked Christian Bale to lose such crazy amount of weight and was genuinely shocked when he saw Bale's appearance on the first day of shooting. He also confessed to being thrilled by the actor's dedication. So Christian Bale is just known for going the extra mile in terms of being an actor and being very committed to his roles. And he's done weight gains, weight losses in multiple roles.
Yeah, American Hustle is the exact opposite of this.
Yeah, gained a ton of weight. He lost weight for The Fighter, which is a really good movie. And he won an Oscar for that movie. He's awesome in that. I mean, his acting in this movie is so good. I don't even know like how I found out about this movie. I feel like someone told me about it. Was like, "Hey, have you ever seen The Machinist?" And I was like, "No." And I checked it out, and I love it. I mean, that's why I showed you, and that's why I've showed multiple people this movie. It's just so well done. and it's such a like conversation piece, if you will. There's a lot to digest, especially from the film's ending. Yeah, and like I don't know. I can't wait to talk about the ending, but I want to like go through a couple things. So Scott Cassar wrote this movie, and he loves Nine Inch Nails, and he loves it so much that he named the protagonist Trevor Resnick. Obviously, it's named after Nine Inch Nails' Trent Reznor, which is funny because like you always think that. Like every time I hear Resnick, I think of like Reznor from Nine Inch Nails. So
Yeah.
I never knew that until I looked up the trivia. Did you? So you said that you think this is like your second time. So the first time was when we watched it.
Yeah, I've definitely seen it since then. I'm pretty sure my wife and I watched this at some point.
Okay.
So this is probably my third time.
Now, did you go into it watching it a different way than you had the other viewings?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't as focused on the like, narrative, like, stuff this time. I was more watching it for, the other stuff, like the writing specifically, not necessarily like the overall narrative, because that's pretty, I understood that pretty well, but like how like things are set up and the dialogue and like that kind of stuff this time, and a bit more focus on like the editing and the film cinematography and stuff.
Same here, and I've been trying to do that this whole month with like all these movies that I've seen multiple times that are like that have that kind of twist ending. I'm trying to look at it from a different perspective, and this one I was looking at it from a writing standpoint, like how is the dialogue really and the editing really convey this message or this twist? How is it going to pull it off?
Yeah. Right.
And I think this movie does a great job laying the breadcrumbs out, and then you find the piece of bread, if you will.
Yeah, I think this movie, though, is a bit of a departure from like how Fight Club and Shutter Island kind of do that, like trail of details where like things are a bit more spelled out in The Machinist for you than they are in Fight Club, and particularly Fight Club. But yeah, we talked a lot about in Shutter Island too, like all the details are kind of right there, but they all have like double meanings. So like you interpret it a certain way. Like I feel like The Machinist doesn't have as much of that like
Yeah, I can see that.
interpretive, kind of stuff. Like, I mean, you like I'd say the first like maybe half of the movie, like there's all these things that happen and like the action kind of rises from like all these different events. And then the trail of breadcrumbs kind of starts, and like things are kind of revealed to you and the main character at the same time,
Yeah, that's a good comparison between those movies and this. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, this movie has a very like they were trying to go for a very Hitchcockian vibe, and I think they do it well. I mean, even the score is from Roque Banos, if I'm pronouncing his name, but I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right, but it's a homage to Bernard Herrmann and his work with Alfred Hitchcock. Yeah, and what's funny is, speaking of comparing it to the other movies, at one point Trevor says nobody has ever died from insomnia, which is the same line in Fight Club.
Yeah.
And another movie, obviously, that has, insomnia in it and memory loss and schizophrenia. But it's cool. I mean, I like when certain movies open with the mystery, if you will. Like this opens with Trevor committing a crime, basically, or trying to conceal his crime.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what the whole theme of the movie is him concealing this crime in a sense. It's him, not necessarily like hiding the evidence, it's concealing it within himself. And that's a huge theme that was also present in Shutter Island, is not being able to face the reality, and you've got all this guilt and the consequences. That's a huge theme from this movie. And it's really displayed masterfully in this movie, I'd say, with certain elements. Like, you've got the forks in the road. Like, which path do you choose? Do you choose the path of forgiveness, or do you choose the path of, I'm going to subdue this or submerge this and be guilty and not face the news? That's really, really a huge theme in this movie. And it's also like, do I go to heaven or do I go to hell? Which is also a huge theme of this movie, in my opinion. And yeah, I mean, the whole washing his hands of bleach, well, that's huge. He's just trying to, rid himself of his guilt. And there's so many like little metaphors in this movie that I love. Like little subtle things, like the hangman, the word, the hangman, game, if you will. And there's a lot of, like, you've committed such a crime that you need to be hung or hanged for this. And there's even a shot of a guy hanged in the like ride that they take with him and Nicholas. And there's a lot of like recurring themes of guilt in this movie that I really like.
But even the insomnia, like he can't sleep because he's
got
so
a guilty conscience. Conscience, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to go back to the Hitchcock, homage, like that opening scene serves kind of as the like MacGuffin, that like Hitchcock is famous for, where like the whole movie you want to find out like what's in the rug, who's in the rug, right?
Yeah.
But it's really just that's like kind of what moves or keeps your interest, I'd say, through the movie, like working your way up to what seems like a murder, but it's actually something else, which is like a very classic Hitchcock technique. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, there's little things in there that I just love. Like, and it's also through like the dialogue too. He befriends this waitress at the airport, which is like he's trying to run away, but he can't necessarily do it because he's got this guilty conscience. And there's certain things he says, like, can you keep a secret? And Marie says, to the grave, which is a very like deliberate line, but also there's a lot of subtext going on in that line of what you find out later. And Trevor says, I haven't slept in a year. Like, a year? Like, he's been doing that for a year? Like, that's physically impossible too, first off. So it's just interesting, like, the circumstances of why this character's in this position. And you get this introduction to his friend Ivan, which is like speaking on schizophrenia from Fight Club. It's like this imaginary guy that he comes up with that causes all this mayhem. What are your thoughts on Ivan? What would you say Ivan is in this story?
Yeah, it's like, I think Ivan is kind of the like personification of like evil, or like his like I don't know, projection of like his like, bad deeds or whatever,
Yeah.
It's like the first time we see him, he has like pitch black aviators on, and like he's kind of got like, he's got like the weird like toe thumb, thing, and like, like it's just like, he's just like a very like strange and like kind of like deformed person. Like, he has two different color eyes. Like, think he's got a scar on his face.
He's got weird teeth.
Yeah.
He's just very strange in general.
But like, there's another movie that you and I both like a lot, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Has the I don't know if he's like the bounty hunter or the sheriff that's chasing the three guys, but he also wears black sunglasses at day or night, and like a lot of times they film him with like fire reflecting in the sunglasses, and he's kind of like the devil or whatever, like chasing after them. And that's kind of the vibe I get with Ivan in this movie.
Yeah.
He's just kind of this like dark presence that's like, following him around,
Yeah, like the personification of like evil and guilt, and it's like his doppelganger basically, almost.
Yeah, right.
In a sense. Yeah, I think there's like a lot of subtle clues to that, of like Crime and Punishment and 666 and the Devil and Dostoevsky's novels. There's Crime and Punishment from that. There's the crime, or the Idiot, which is what Trevor's reading. There's a lot of.
I had to look that one up because.
Which, the Idiot?
Yeah.
Okay, and what'd you find on it? Because I've got a little cool thing to here too.
Yeah, so I've never read it, obviously.
Yeah, neither have I.
But it's supposed to have been like Dostoevsky had a concept of putting a like more or less like perfect like person in a bunch of like imperfect situations that he kind of encounters, and like how he reacts to them and the other people that he encounters kind of like react to him, which is kind of what this movie is a little bit about. Is like not necessarily that Trevor is perfect, but like he's kind of this like everyman like embodiment that's kind of put into these different like kind of like terrible and like strange scenarios, and we're just kind of watching him navigate them.
Yeah. So Crime and Punishment is a Dostoevsky novel, and it's about a guilty man who attempts to justify his crime, which is Trevor in this scenario. And then the Idiot, like you mentioned, and then there's also another book that he does called The Double, which contains a character that appears and begins to ruin a character that appears like Ivan and begins to ruin the protagonist's life. And the doppelganger turns out to be a pseudo schizophrenic manifestation of the protagonist's less desirable characteristics.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of symbolism in that, and what you really see that in Trevor, where he finds that photograph of Ivan and what's the character's name?
Oh, yeah, the other worker.
I'm blanking on it.
Is it
Reynolds?
Reynolds, yeah.
Reynolds. And he the picture ends up being Christian Bale, which so Ivan is this nothing that exists, which is the MacGuffin, like you said, and when he unrolls the rug, there's no one in it, even after he's killed his so-called the so-called Ivan, which is cool because it's like he's killed that manifestation, and now he eventually realizes who he is.
Yeah.
And that is, I mean, there's so many great revelations in this movie, like specifically at the ending, and I love. But like other lines is there's a line that Trevor says to Marie. He says, "A little guilt goes a long way."
Yeah.
Did you hear that one?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's like stuff like that.
That's like the first time he's in the airport. I think he says that to her, right?
Yeah, and he says, well, like when he goes to that like carnival or amusement park with Nicholas and Marie. Nicholas being Marie's son. He goes on that ride with Nicholas, and he's like, "Oh, what's a route?" And Trevor says, "A route is a long journey that you take, or a road you take when you're on a long journey," is what he says. And this whole movie is a journey that he's trying to take to salvation, if you think about it. And again, you get posed with that whole scene of Route 66 is incredible in my opinion.
It's basically the plot of the entire movie.
I was just gonna say that,
like 2 minutes.
Yeah, and yeah, because they're in this little red car, which Christian Bale has that red Firebird, which at the beginning it's Ivan's.
Yeah,
and but it's truly Christian Bale's, which the whole license plate scene is awesome, where he realizes the car's registered to him. And but yeah, there's a part where they're driving through, and it's like he sees a woman putting flowers on a grave, crying, and then they are driving in like a boy, like a little I don't know what, like
it's like a kid with a ball that like swings out in front of them, and then
they hit it, and then it shows the kid like ran over in the hospital or like the ambulance nearby, and then it's there's the guy hanging that says guilty and crime and punishment, and it's just like all the bad things, and then you have two forks in the road. Again, there's two ways in the road. It's like highway to hell or like road to salvation, and they choose road to hell or highway to hell, and it's because he hasn't forgiven himself or hasn't realized the mistake he's done. And
that like sequence I think is pretty interesting and like pretty powerful, because Trevor tells Nicholas like turn right, and Nicholas turns left down the highway to hell. Like I think that's kind of symbolic of like Trevor doesn't take this like into his own hands. He's just kind of like letting events like dictate, where he goes,
And there's like there's two little subtle things that I really like in the movie, where when he first meets Ivan, he is trying to light a cigarette and the lighter doesn't work. And then he goes in his car and he hesitates to push the cigarette lighter. And that's like a very subtle little scene that I love. And it's watching it another time and like really realizing it, you're like, oh, okay, that's why he's doing it, because that has obviously cascaded into the main event of why he is in this scenario. Yeah. And then there's a part where he does it again, and he goes to light a cigarette, and like there's like a car horn like blares at him, and like he almost gets in an accident. And it obviously comes into play at the end, where that's why he got in this accident. He was lighting a cigarette and he didn't realize there's a red light, and he runs over this boy, which is crazy. And like another like the whole running of Marie to try and like where she's trying to save, like after Nicholas gets run over and she's running, there's the same kind of mirrored scene where Nicholas has the seizure after Route 66, the ride, and she's running and the carousel is in the background. Yeah. And then it, you get that flash of the water tower and her running, and that it ties into the end where Nicholas has been run over, and she's running, and there's that like water tower in the background, which is it's great symbolism and like history repeating itself, and like he's stuck in this time loop, and that really is apparent with the time on the clocks that he always sees. He always looks at the clock and it's like 1:30, and there's the seconds are going forward and backwards and forward and backwards. He's just like stuck in this time loop. So I I had read about this movie after I watched it because I was like, what the hell did I just watch when I first saw it?
Yeah.
And so from what I read and like rewatching it and everything, and my understanding is he's in this purgatory state. And it's either you go to hell or you go to heaven. And because you need to fess up, and that's why you've got this guilty conscience, and he has to go on this journey to figure out why he did what he did and to forgive himself. And I think he does that at the end of the movie where he does this hangman thing and he realizes it's killer. Like he realizes he's a killer and he turns himself in. And I think the like symbolic scene of that is he's going to prison or going into a jail cell and it's like super bright white. It's like so stark white. And like he's finally going to heaven. And I think so there's a part where he's chasing Ivan, he's chasing Ivan through the tunnel and he's in his truck and he barely misses a RV that's coming the opposite way. Mm-hmm. And then his truck stalls out and like goes off to the side of the road. And the scene kind of ends. There's a lot of scenes like that in this movie where they just kind of, it's very dreamlike and you don't know how he gets from point A to point B most of the time because it just literally will like end and it goes to another scene. And that's very, I don't know, it goes with the insomnia of like he's like sleepwalking in a sense. But
nothing's quite complete.
Yeah.
Like, it kind of lends to that, like, this is like an unnatural, kind of like environment that he's in.
Yeah. And like, and so I think at the end, he hits and runs Nicholas, and at the end, he commits suicide and drives into the RV, is what I think, or he drives off the cliff. So that was my thought on it, and that's why he's in this state now, because he can't go to heaven until he forgives himself or basically gets rid of his guilty conscience.
Yeah, as I think not only is it that like he's obviously racked with guilt. But I think part of it is that he doesn't accept that like he's responsible for Nicholas's death, and like that's kind of mirrored in the scene where the like maintenance guy loses his arm in the
Miller
Miller loses his arm in the machine.
Yeah.
It's like his first thing is like, oh, I didn't do anything. Like starts like blaming all this other stuff, and like he doesn't accept responsibility as. Like, again, like, it was an accident. He bumped into, the, like, start button on the machine. But then he's just like, oh, like, this, like, the power didn't work and the emergency switch didn't work. And, like, he just lists off all these excuses on why, it's not his fault. And I think that's, like, the same kind of thing that he's doing with Nicholas's death. Like, except instead of, like, confronting it, he just completely put it out of his head,
Yeah.
And he's forced to kind of reconcile with all of those things, as the movie goes on.
Agreed. He's always given these paths of, and it's the same outcome every time until the end, where it's I can't face the reality. And it's like when he runs from the cops, he goes through that sewer and there's two ways. Mm-hmm. And it's like he goes left the same way as the hell highway instead of road to salvation because he sees someone else coming down there. He's guilty and can't face it. So he goes that way until at the end it's like airport or downtown. And he's with Ivan and he finally decides to, you don't realize where he goes, but he chooses downtown and that's when he goes to the police station. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's so well done. I think it's such a great movie. There wasn't too much trivia on it, but yeah, I mean, it's one of my, it's a very high rated movie on my end. Like, I think it's so good.
Yeah,
Is there what else you got for it? You have anything that you
I think the only other like parallel to the like which path he takes is that he has the two different women that he has to he's kind of flip-flopping back and forth between. He has Stevie and he has Marie. And like Stevie's the like, I don't know, less than upstanding citizen, I guess. And like Marie's the like like hardworking waitress with like a family or whatever, like so it's kind of another interesting duality that like he has to choose between.
And I think that another duality to that is he sees Marie as his mother and Nicholas as himself. I feel like there's kind of a very small hint at that, because when he goes to Marie's house after the amusement park, she has all these little things, like there's that little red toy, there's the glass bowl with the candles in it, and at the end of the movie, he has those things, and his landlord is like, hey, like, would you want to sell this to me? I like this. And he's like, no, it was my mother's. And there's also that picture he takes of Marie and Nicholas at the amusement park, and then that same picture is of him, of Trevor and his mom.
Yeah.
So I think he sees his mom of like, and the innocence of that kid in himself, and that helps him at the end too.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I think that like the bonds that he like makes with Marie and Nicholas are like instrumental in his like coming to terms with everything. I will note though, I think it's a pretty well well crafted technique, but like we don't really learn anything about Marie or Nicholas like as like people, which is like what would be the case if he actually killed Nicholas. Like,
Yeah.
They're just random people. So like I thought that was actually pretty interesting too. Like even for how much he interacts with them, like it's all basically just like small talk. Like there's no real like interesting like relationship development.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought that was also like really good writing, 'cause
And
it helps reinforce that like he doesn't really know them, but like he has this connection.
And it's not like he gets physical with them. Like
No.
he gets physical with Stevie, and it's like he can't, you know what I mean? There's like no, there's like no, almost like emotional, physical connection.
Right.
Yeah, pretty interesting. What do you think about the take on it being him in purgatory and like him figuring out what path he needs to choose, the road to salvation and admit his guilt, and or go to hell and hide your demons?
Yeah, I mean that was like one of the things I did watch for like really closely this time. I think it certainly has probably the most merit, but like I do feel like you could kind of take this movie as like a more literal or like realistic like interpretation, that like he is like truly an insomniac from the guilt that he has of like hitting this kid. And like I think the one detail that like allows for that is when they say that like I think he reported his car totaled, so he may have like destroyed the car to cover up the fact that like he's hit and run Nicholas, and then he's racked with guilt for over a year, can't sleep, and then he starts losing his mind.
Yeah.
Until he finally gives himself up, and then he has peace. But
That's a good point.
not as elegant and like
Poetic.
thematic and poetic as
Yeah.
The purgatory situation. So, but I don't know. I think that's it's good that you can interpret it more than one way. I think.
Yeah.
Because that's what makes a lot of these movies, particularly good.
Yeah, especially because the ending, it just flashes to white, and
Yeah.
it's like it doesn't show him. It just shows him driving away. Basically,
Yeah, we don't know what happens for sure.
Yeah,
to
so
him in the red car. So
Yeah, so like this in Shutter Island, it's open to interpretation for the most part, and
yeah,
I love endings like that. It makes the movie have great rewatch value. It makes it have a great following and makes people want to have a conversation about it. I have no idea what the next movie we're doing is about. Gaslight, do you?
so all I know is that the term gaslighting comes from this movie.
And I feel like that term is like really popular right now.
Yeah.
So hopefully the movie's good, but we have that next week. It's from the 40s. I think it was like 1944.
Yeah, I think so.
Gaslight. So we've never seen it, so we'll see if it's good or we're gonna gaslight it and say it's shitty. Yeah. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode, and we'll catch you next week with our last movie of the month, psychological thriller movie, Gaslight. So hopefully you liked Machinist. We'll catch you next week.
Yep. See you.